Hey, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Rayge, and we are back today with a quick update video here with regards to now the Insidious 6 characters having officially been added to the game. But as well, I wanted to take a look at which characters right now look like they're going to be feasible in terms of slotting in next to these new 3 characters. Remember, this is going to be interesting because this is the first time where they add only 3 characters for a raid, but we can actually synergize and use different characters in the mix. Now, having said that, I wanted to also deep dive how they look statistically as well, and obviously being mindful of the kits. But this really stemmed from yesterday's announcement here, as you can see with Pathfinder making the update that although Shocker was actually added to the Insidious 6 team, part of his passive was actually removed because there was additional damage and armor that he would naturally provide to Sinister 6 characters, and now they've officially added that damage and armor back into the base stats of the following Sinister 6 characters, which essentially means all these characters getting statistical buffs. So that includes Mysterio, Doc Ock, Craven, Green Goblin Classic, the original Green Goblin, Lizard, Spider Slayer, Rhino, and Electro. Now, definitely a lot of characters, guys, and that's why it makes it so exciting. But at the same time, too, I think I've nailed down at least some of the key ones that we'll start seeing depending on the game mode. And that's kind of one of the beauties of this update is that, in the past, Sinister 6 rework, it was absolutely massive. And with this Insidious 6 update, they've allowed now for even more opportunities for theory crafting, especially dependent on the game mode that you want to be obviously going for or striving towards. But I definitely think there's going to be emphasis on the new 3 just because of their synergies with each other. And then really it's up to you guys, depending on the game mode, of how you want to proceed, which game mode do you want to thrive in. So here are the updated stats, as you guys can see on screen. We've done this before with the past Sinister 6, but I wanted to redo this now for just the Insidious. Plus, some of the Sinister 6 updates I do believe are going to be some of the best additions here. There's a couple that have been excluded from this list just because I don't think they're going to be as impactful as the ones that we see on screen, just based on some of their kits, based on their synergies, and just based on the utility of what we're seeing here. So first and foremost, what we have in this table, guys, is basically a rating here on the legend of S tier all the way to A, B, and then C tier, depending on where they kind of stack up. And remember, these are all stats that have been reworked now post Ares. So there's been any changes since we've updated that, but you can see Superior Spider-Man, Hobgoblin, and Scorpion being on the top 3 there around that orange box. They're all very, very statistically strong compared to the previous characters from Sinister 6 and Superior, right? HP, damage, armor, and speed across the board. They're all either A or S tier plus. Even with Superior Spider-Man, he actually has the 4th highest speed in the game with his passives activated at 133. So he's going to be a very speedy character. He's going to get ahead of a lot of enemy opponents that we're up against and that we're facing up, and very, very important in raids as well, right? Not even just the Crucible and War setting, but in raids when you're able to get that first turn advantage, and he also provides some passive boosts for his team. Very important to ensure that way he is going to be kind of dictating how that battle goes. Now, Hobgoblin and Scorpion having also notable strength in their higher damage and as well even their armor stats. But Scorpion's shortfall is the fact that he is going to be the slowest out of the 3, which isn't the worst thing because he is seen as that tank. He's going to be soaking up damage, so him getting a turn isn't the most important. So I definitely think these 3 characters are likely going to be the core of either War, Crucible, or obviously their intended game mode being raids. I don't think that's going to change ultimately. Even in Dark Dimensions, I still see this 3-piece as kind of being the essential. Then the question then remains, what other characters can we actually slot in? Which other characters make the most sense then in terms of just synergizing and working well with the 3-piece? So remember, Shocker and Vulture were specifically mentioned in obviously the blogs, but as well, they've got the most love out of the updates, right? You can see respectively, their HP, their armor, in addition to their damage. I mean, they're all very, very similar to the newest 3, which is they're all either sitting in A tier or the S tier. And even Vulture, with him having one of the higher speeds too, it's great because his ultimate ability also reduces the speed and turn meter of the opposing enemy. So it's kind of like almost a passive speed boost for your team, because once he gets that turn and to use his ultimate, it's going to allow the team to go before the enemy, which is absolutely massive there. Shocker, same thing. He got a lot of love, and especially the damage increase now. And remember, he generates energy for the team as well. So I do see the raid team still consisting of actually the 5, right? Like they were saying that this may not be the best option. Maybe there's certain nodes where maybe utility is required, but for the meantime, anyways, I still actually see Shocker and Vulture being the go-to for raids until we see that kind of getting released. And obviously, once that gets reflected in the new Annihilation raids, we'll see if we have to pivot a bit and find out the best solution. Now, having said that, because of these reworks, massive love now. Once again, back to those OG legendary characters that we've had for this team, being both Green Goblin Classic and Doc Ock himself. Although statistically, from HP, armor, and damage standpoint, they're not sitting at the best. They're usually in that top 100 range, even heck a little below it because of that B- rating. They both have very good speed, right? At 128 and 124. And remember, they thrive in the Crucible and War and Crucible setting. So they're going to have a bit of value there. What I really think is going to be an X factor is the fact that Doc Ock can summon Shocker. And as you can see, right, Doc Ock does have a higher speed than the Shocker on the team, outside of the passives or any kind of speed boost that you provide. So what that means potentially is that, you know, adding Doc Ock might be actually that pseudo placement for Shocker, where once he summons the Shocker, I assume that the Shocker is going to be the reworked one and obviously statistically updated. So if that's the case, having Doc Ock on the team might actually be a really good plan, just to ensure that you usually have about 6 members on the team against an opposing 5, especially in War and Crucible, right? In raids, it might be a different story. You might need your upgraded one as opposed to the summoned run, right? Just because of that stat difference. But yeah, I would say in a War and Crucible setting, Doc Ock might actually be the better play. Another great option, and as we kind of seen in game as well, is Mysterio. Now, surprisingly, guys, I don't know if this is inaccurate, or maybe they haven't updated the stats table on the Marvel Strike Force website, but Mysterio is actually still sitting across the board in the C tier. But in all fairness, though, Mysterio is not known for his damage, HP, or as well as his armor. He's actually one of the best kits right now in this entire group. So why you bring Mysterio is because you want to control how the enemies are opposing you. And when you have a mass blind with ability block, that can, you know, completely turn the side of battle regardless of which game mode you are in. Especially, I used him in Dark Dimension 8. Absolutely massive value. But obviously, he's a little bit of expensive character to bring up if you do plan on going that route. We also saw some increases, though, as well to Swarm and Lizard. And Swarm actually got a lot of love because with him being part of the respective Infestation update, I mean, you can see his HP and his damage are both sitting in comfortably in that S tier setting. And he has a decent speed at 119, armor being a little low, obviously, just given kind of his overall kit. Lizard, across the board, Bs, but he is one of the faster characters and a very good ultimate ability that can strip and counter certain characters in Death Proof. So with him having a higher speed as well at 126, I definitely do see him having value later on in Crucible now that we have the setting. Now, the only thing I want to also mention, guys, remember, characters like Mysterio and Lizard, where they have to use their abilities to thrive off of 2 other superior characters. So just keep that in mind. If we bring in Mysterio with the new 3-piece of the Insidious 6, you won't be able to use his bonuses, right? You'll probably need to take out one other member and then add in a character like Doc Ock and maybe Green Goblin Classic or Lizard, Craven, in order to actually activate that. So just remember that. That's kind of the caveat there. This Insidious 6 team definitely gives us some more ideas and synergies, but just to be mindful of the fact that not all of these characters have the same bonuses being activated just because they're all part of that Sinister 6 lore. As the new 3-piece, I don't believe they're getting the Superior 6 tag, which means that they're not going to be able to thrive and work unless they change the wording there. But anyways, I just wanted to get this information to you guys because a lot of good stats updates here, obviously, and theory crafting opportunities and value, honestly, across the board for the different game modes that you're interested in. So hope this helps you guys out. Let me know what you think, comments below, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.